I'm leaning towards M80.
All right, I'm feeling pretty similar about this one as well. I feel like the fragging power is just a little bit stronger for M80 right now. We're going to have to see if it holds through, though, as they do have that defensive start where we have oftentimes see teams struggle on a map like Bank here. But we're into the bans now, so let's focus up and see who exactly M80 is going to be looking to knock out. They've got the first attacker and final defender bans on the orange side. DarkZero has the two center bans, of course, being the blue team in the middle there.
Yeah, name of the game on attacking on Bank will be securing that map control, and Dokkaebi can be so powerful, not just in any situation, be it the early round or the late round, but in securing that map control can be so useful. Send out a Dokkaebi call, send somebody inside a CEO window, try to clear out that roamer on the top floor. The Dokkaebi call can make it a lot easier, even if you're droning, maybe a little bit sloppy. DarkZero following it up with a Hibana. You need to ban some kind of hard breach on Bank, and given how many hatches are on that basement floor, especially Hibana is a very standard one for DZ to start out.
It's going to slow things down, especially if teams are committing themselves to that extended roam as well. It's just going to add to the amount of time you need to get true access to the basement. Azami, no surprise there as well. We've been seeing her get banned out quite heavily, especially for this map, just because she has so much room to play on the defensive side, so it makes absolute sense to knock her out here. And then finally, the last ban coming in from M80 is going to be heading over towards Solus.
Yep. As Jesse brought up earlier, Solus is one of Canadians' favorite ops to play, and was his favorite op to play at Invite, and very much was an op he loved to play in their initial game against Mirage just a couple hours ago. But the problem is this triad we have, Azami, Solus, and Valkyrie. Which two do you ban? Which one do you leave up? Valkyrie on Bank, Valkyrie on any map, but on Bank as well, having those black eye cameras in the possession of the defense. Well, M80 will get the advantage of that right now, but of course, they'll have to play the attack at some point, and that is a very powerful tool to leave in the defense's pocket.
And they're absolutely going to be using that. Like you said, because it's Bank, we'll have plenty of places to hide those cameras out of this very prop-heavy map, and not only that, of course, you have areas like the lobby where you have these massive, high-vaulted ceilings where you can very easily hide those cameras amongst the framework and the molding, sitting up on the top towards the ceiling itself.
M80 starting out, though, not bringing that Valkyrie. Instead, DS Lucas sticking the Echo. I was actually talking, I believe, to maybe Pengu while we were just sitting yesterday during the rehearsal about how many people actually play Echo anymore. Talked about DPEC on Koi over in Europe, but we couldn't name many more solid Echo players than that. DS Lucas, obviously, very much liking the operator right now. If you want to sit inside maybe Garage, or at least put a Yokai inside of Server, or even what we've seen on this map, such as TSM do all the way back last year, was send an aggressive Yokai drone to help out the roamers on the top floor. So say Spoit with that Oryx, who will likely be playing the top floor for the first 45 seconds to a minute and a half. If he's got a Yokai to back him up and help find some of those attackers droning in or moving into that top floor, that'll make his job a lot easier. And of course, having a Yokai down inside a Garage for the site will help stop anybody from lurking in either in the early or the late round.
There's that massive advanced intel when the push is going to be happening, and as long as M80 continues to maintain that position behind the truck, it's going to be quite a difficult task for DarkZero to work their way into it. DarkZero taking some initial first floor control, not going to be scaring M80 too much here, though, as the Twitch drone as well starts to sneak in through the basement and scout things out as well here. See where M80 have their players tucked away, so DarkZero can begin the process of knocking out the extended room here.
Thankfully for DZ, there's no presence on server stairs, and Kino is playing very aggressively with the shotgun. Now, this is certainly not a freebie. Kino is a renowned shotgun player, one of the best in North America, and maybe even the best in the world. So as Panda goes and watches the angle, Kino just swings it. No fear, all the confidence in the world. DS tags on for two, and M80 start out with two bodies wide.
Great team support here to play onto the inside of Server, immediately dashing the plans from DZ, resetting them basically back to square one here. Speaking of square, we'll see them now try to make their entry onto the inside top end of that. NJR will be trying to make the entry first, but get scared away with good reason too. M80 adjusting pretty much immediately to that pressure and starting to force away players like NJR. Two more lost on the lower floor push, leading it all onto NJR, and he gets virtually nowhere as well. Free entry to stock, but gunned down the second he steps outside of it. A statement made by M80 here on the first round.
A statement, and a powerful yet quiet one. It did not feel like a very bombastic round. An engagement here, an engagement there, that all seemed to just happen without too much fanfare from DZ or M80. Kino just stays in his position, knows that they're pushing him, takes an aggressive fight with Panba, wins it, then DS Lucas backs him up on a long angle, gets the kill as well. I gotta feel bad for Gavini in that round. He was inside of Archives all the way through Square within the first 30 seconds. The ability for DZ to acquire that initial map control was quite admirable, especially without clearing that top floor. But they try to push the site, they succumb to Kino and DS Lucas, and at that point, going for the roam clear, when you're down two bodies, it's not gonna go well.
Yep, certainly not the case. M80 will have a little bit more of a difficult time holding that direct pressure on the site. Of course, let them move up to the second floor. Oftentimes, you have that repel pressure from the attack. It's just gonna be way too omnipresent. be able to actually defend on the interior of the site itself. So we're seeing those extensions get set up now over towards meeting room. Janitor, of course, going to play over towards areas like stockroom as well, and extending further beyond that too. Echo is staying in for Kino though, as they had its uses in the previous round. They're going to feel it's just as useful here for the second floor hold.
I'm getting a little nervous by DZ's op lineup right now. You talked about the repel pressure, and of course, it's something you always have to consider on this site. The other thing you have to consider is that they might just repel in very quickly. We see the Ying and the Capital on the board right now for DarkZero, and one op we forgot to mention during the ban phase that was left up, Thatcher. Those EMPs are on the board. You don't have to deal with the finicky impact EMPs. If there were any ADSs or magnets, in which case the latter, you could throw some outside that window, throw the Candelas and the smoke bolts in, and go for a rush. Right now, Panama's outside of ATM, but he can easily rotate over to that rappel, throw the Candelas in alongside some smoke bolts, and go for a rush. If that's going to happen, this might happen early in the round.
Explosive combos certainly building up for DarkZero, but they need to get into the right position to use it. They need to setting himself up here over by the skylight. My mainstay to see if he can find any targets through that one, but anything cleaning up the glasses. Time continues to tick down, and M80 continue to remain stalwart in their current positions. No reason to panic, as obviously DarkZero have not started to put the pressure on, but now that we are approaching the 2-minute mark, now we're going to get to see exactly what they'll build towards here with this utility set.
Achieved is right on that rappel. He'll go in for the drone, get out some cursory intel. This Echo is going to be pivotal to deny this rush. Of course, the gunfights and the angle is really powerful, but if somebody gets in and that bomb starts to go down, Kino needs to be precise on this yokai to peer through all the utility and all the noise to try and deal with it. With DS Lucas being pressured on Kanto as well, he'll actually manage to get out. Whoever watching that angle, or if anybody who's watching that angle, will let it go, and that's just one more gunfight ready and waiting for Achieved or anybody from DarkZero to repel in or move inside a square.
And many players getting bunched up quite a bit as well, over by Janitor and Meteor sitting directly next to it. You've got 2 players sitting on each one of those rooms right now, so that could create a bit of a powder keg that DarkZero could knock out 4/5 of this roster with in just a few seconds if they're able to get one solid push. But they need to line themselves up for it here. Still half the round about to go here, and it looks like they're winding up for something big here. It's got Candelas moving in, smokes as well to cover the square push. They move themselves towards it here. They'll take quick control of Z. Trying to swing out beyond that over towards Banana. Beepers is going to give away Panba's push itself, but no one to follow it through just yet. When he's tested, though, not ready for it. And the jump out from Spoit is successful. He'll get killed from a Claymore. Gavini as well finds a trade onto Iconic. And that'll leave us on even terms with 3v3. But more importantly, DZ has the pinch established out from the outside. Gavini, though, gets scared away from things. He gets a shot set his way from top square and is forced back into a safer area of stock.
Thankfully, DarkZero have the diffuser dropped outside with only 45 seconds left. Someone might have to make the dangerous decision to go for a rotate. Gomez tries to hop out, and this is the man advantage DZ we're looking for. They could go and pick up that diffuser, but again, that'll waste time. With this man advantage, they'll take the time, use what little intel or what little time they have to gather that intel, and they can play man advantage, play these trades, and take out M80 with kills.
Good play advantage here so far from DarkZero. Nice, slow, stable play to wait for M80 to make their own series of mistakes. But now it's going to turn against them here with time getting even lower. 15 seconds to go. They have to make a bid for this site now or never. Diaz and Kino, this is their time to strike as well. Will they be able to swing themselves out for meeting? Not looking like it. Cavini gets the pinch onto Diaz. Kino as well, and now sits alone here, doing so much damage, but can't actually get a kill. Finally strikes down one, but is traded immediately afterwards to give the round over to M80.
Really great recovery by DZ there. I mean, you got to commend them. Just as the repels can be dangerous for the defense if the attack manages to get those angles, get the bomb down, and then back out, if you lose on that initial rush, lose on that initial gambit, and lose 2 bodies like DZ did, that is a major problem. Diffuser dropped outside, time not high, but this is an experienced team. This is not a new team like PB or Beast Coast. DZ successfully reset with what little time they had left. You saw everyone droning over by stock. Canadian even makes the rotate to pick up the diffuser, and combined with the 2 kills they got admittedly to bring that back from a 3v3, they were able to use the intel they gathered, still push in to maybe go for a plant, but then clean it up with kills. Really expert recovery and reset by DarkZero.
Great read on the situation from them to come out on top of it. Now ties back up at a 1-1 scoreline. M80 chooses not to go for a retry on that second floor hold, and instead is going to go for open here on the 3rd site. Utility switch up will come with that smoke being swapped in for Kino. We got the frost mats coming out for Diaz. Lots of slow utility building up on top of their roam game, of course, which Spoit is going to be leading there on the Oryx.
Spoit always so fearsome on that roll. You saw him get that 2K with a jump out earlier, but not a lot of, well, at least not a lot of flashy plays in that first round, though he was able to have some bit of an impact in just wasting time on that top floor with the Valkyrie now in this round as well. Spoit will likely be the star of the show, as DarkZero, they can't play it like the first round or just go direct like the second. We don't see that same rush lineup. They'll have to go for some bit of map control here, maybe to clear out Spoit, but if they don't want to do that, we see Panba on the Nook. This is a site where if you want to send a Nook in through garage, maybe creep up those marble stairs, or even go in through main lobby for some quick control or pressure on bottom main, it's a viable strategy. DZ will need to acquire some bit of map control, but right now they've got two different ways of going about it.
Main lobby definitely seems to be in the cards based on the drone work currently being done by the Nook itself. You see Panda lining up for it. Not really going to find much from M80's defense, except for at the very top of Spiral Stairs there on the front end of it. Panda, I believe, has spotted that as well, so he's not going to advance beyond the ATM entry point here. Nice spot in the Legion back at the first floor entry point for main stairs. We'll be aware of that one. Rotates himself away from it. Gonna knock out the barbed wire on the way back up there as well, just so he doesn't give away any further rotates he might make down there later on in the round. You can see, once again, this is a slow wind up here for DarkZero as they wait for, more importantly, Pamba to get in position here as he can try to line up his first big move himself. Nade going deep here towards elevator as well. Not going to be able to find a whole lot as there's no one on that Teller's connector.
They're slowly starting to pinch the player on the banana right now. Panda down below could have gone for the nade, but instead he'll opt to push a little bit deeper, follow the path of that nade, use this angle watching inside of Beepers. It'll be NGR with the first kill. He's been on this rappel for pretty much the entire round, and now he takes down Spoit, makes it worth DarkZero's while, and gets the man advantage. Gavini working his way into archives now. Panda and Gavini, DarkZero as a whole, have control of that middle section of the floor. The only other control for M80 being the site. We do have Kino on the top floor, and the Legion as well. It's not completely secure for DarkZero, but again, they can take 30 seconds, drone them out. If they want to clear them, they can, but with Panda and Gavini, they have constant pressure on the site that allows them to go for other options, be at the top floor or just hitting the site if they want to.
Yeah, we have seen teams execute directly into the site while ignoring the second floor extent before. I believe M80 actually was one of those. I saw a few weeks back here. So a really successful execute where they're able to work their way past it, brute force it to some extent, but it ended up working as the top floor hold just did not expect that plane, was not able to adjust and react to it in an appropriate amount of time. With time starting to get a little bit low here. Closer attention to how exactly DZ is going to try to approach the site. Gavini with the lineup, hoping to get some form of response, but Canadian will take out his target instead and opens up a clean path to get himself into the depths of staff. Plant will start going down behind Kitchen as well. Good rotate from Kino. Fends off one of the attackers from DZ, but they're still down a player, and that Plant is not being interrupted in any essence of it. Panda quickly knocks out yet another member of M80 to down Kino. It's all up to Iconic and Gomez now. Iconic as well rotating in, counters out a Chiefs push into stock to find that at least, but still down by one here, as of course that counter defuse timer ticking heavily against them. Canadian with the winning angle as well, but once again, M80 on point here for the trades, but they need to get a two-piece at some point. Iconic that has to be the player to do it in a 1v3 fashion now. As moves forward, catches the first pick. We've got Gavini ready to swing out here, immediately put a stop to Iconic's counter defuse. It's going to be so tough to pull off this retake here, and unfortunately DZ just not giving him any winnable options. So the round goes handily under DZ's control as they take the lead with it.
The name for DarkZero so far is efficiency. I mean, they get the bare minimum map control that they feel that they need, and then they'll leverage and execute with it and try to make it work. Right there, didn't deal with the top floor pressure at all. We just saw Iconic sprinting around the top floor, going to the CEO windows, roaming through Banana after Spoit was killed early on in the round, and all they ever had to poke and prod that top floor was NJR on the rappel, which in many ways is what you need. Watch the rotation down main or marble stairs, make sure that nobody's getting aggressive or vaulting over, and instead have Gavini and Panba secure the middle floor. They did not overcomplicate things. Sometimes they could be risky, like we saw in round number 1. If M80 gets aggressive, well, that minimal control means you don't have a lot to fall back on, but if you can get that first maybe 1 or 2 picks, a minimal style can work wonders.
I think we're seeing a really good variety of attacking styles coming out from DZ so far here as well. Obviously, DZ has been notorious in the past for being like this really slow, really methodical team. And that's how they won the 2 rounds they've taken so far, but they've also shown us, of course, on that first round, a bit of a brute force tactic they tried to deploy towards them. While it didn't work, they've at least got that in their pocketbook ready to bring out here at a moment's notice, which we could potentially see here again, but I would expect more slow play given the way that that first round went when Basement was brought out the last time.
So also lockers once again from M80. Again, the one round they have won so far, and they won it flawlessly. But DZ played directly into M80's positions, directly into Kino inside of server, and then after that it was fairly easy for M80 to clean up. This is where I want to see maybe a little bit of a shift. They'll know Spoit is on that top floor. They know he's going for that roam, and that Kino playing that shotgun inside of server, he's going to be there for the majority of the round, and he's going to have some backup in the form of DS Lucas, who can hold a long angle from Garage. Maybe you try and pinch out Spoit on that top floor. Try and get an opening pick. They were able to do it last round without getting that much control. If they can do it here, they'll start things off on a much better foot than round number 1.
5 seconds left.
Spawns come back in. DarkZero is going to lock their repicks out as well. Factor coming in as well as the sledge there for Panba. Gavini is, I believe, moving himself over towards the Buck. Iconic The aggressive peek to start things out. Don't really believe he's going to have anything lined up here, though. So let's quickly back away from that. I believe he'll take up a position over here towards Stock. The extension is well alive right now. M80 certainly wanting to waste some time in the first minute or so, just like they did previously.
And the two new pickups for M80, though, at least new to North America, certainly not new to competitive. They are the core roaming duo for M80 at the moment, but DarkZero again foregoing that top floor. Instead, they'll sledge a hole straight into cafeteria and hold open area. This can still work, though. They may not, again, be directly going for the kills, but now they have control of Square and Marble, the two main rotations for the defenders. One might just slip by Panba's control. He's made his way into elevator, but they do have the intel. He's trapped right now. Nobody inside the main lobby to hold his other cutoff. They'll just send a nade, but this Warden, he might just be trapped for the moment, but he'll still be something that Panba has to worry about.
Panba ready for the drop down as well. He's got another member of M80 lurking around the bottom of that hatch, trying to find him as well. We can see it now from Gomez's POV. He'll end up backing away from it. It's getting a little bit too hot for his comfort. So moves back from that position. The rest of the team as well for both DarkZero and M80 getting prepared for the first bit of aggression, potentially winding up to work its way down that hatch. Spoit gonna get pressured from the inside of elevator here. Two different angles, I believe, working against him, but the main one sitting directly to his left here. Just gonna sit back, waste the time, force his opponent to challenge him instead. There's an explosion that shakes his aim a little bit. He ends up going down, but the trade ends up coming forward as well, so it's a 1-to-1 exchange to start us off here on round 4.
A little greedy for NJR right there, but trading at least one player for one, maybe it'll work out. DZ's been methodical enough. They can likely make this equal man advantage work, but maybe that was an opportunity for you to play it safe, play in the 5v5, but you've denied a good gun and an undeniably talented player for M80. And DarkZero still have a decent bit of time. 1 minute and 10 seconds left, though no nades, admittedly. They'll have to find some new way to deal with Kino and Server. Gavini will just drop down inside with a skeleton key. I'm not sure if he can outgun Kino, but Gavini's the man today. 4v3 opening up the wall now. DZ have more than enough time to set up this execute, and if they can deal with this Echo John, they'll be in the clear.
A little bit quicker on the shot for the shotgun there. Ends up taking things out. Opens up a path forward for DarkZero. Now they just need to execute upon it before time runs out here. M80 on the meanwhile. Still sitting themselves back, waiting for the timer to run down a little bit more themselves. Canadian ready to potentially make that first bid for it. Only one Nitro cell to use against this as well. If DarkZero has a choice in that, I'd love to bait that out, but they're running too low on time as they try to set themselves up for this. Canadian, as you just saw there, losing about half of his HP while trying to go for that little pixel plant position. Iconic as well with the peek, but crosses over the hatch thinking it's clear. Panba easily executes him from that position. Canadian was down while trying to put that plant onto the ground as well, but he will be recovered. Brought back from the depths. Diaz just not ready for a fight down main stairs. Gomez as well gets surprised by the hatch drop, and with that, DZ take over control of the basement for the first time in this half.
That rotation from Panbazoo was really what they needed right there, because DZ lacked any garage pressure, and Diaz has a very long angle from garage or the garage double door and is able to see that default plant spot. Not enough to execute Canadian, not enough to kill him with one bullet, but enough to tag him, to poke him, and to let Gomez with that C4 put it off for a little bit, wait, and that be a second option while Diaz just prods the planter. And with Panba making that rotation, made that no longer possible. Again, you have to commend DarkZero overall to be able to get the 4v2, get the man advantage, and Gavini, the bravery on him to challenge Kino with the skeleton key. But still, the individual decision-making from DarkZero has been excellent. It was excellent in this round that we just saw, and going back to open area now, a round that they've won before. They've won the one site M80 won. They're looking pretty good on this attacking half.
M80 as well, already having used their tactical timeout, is not going to have an opportunity to reel back and figure out where things are going wrong here. Already used that up, so they're going to have to adjust on the fly from this point forward, and that includes the second half as well. Hopefully that'll move them over to the attacking side, where hopefully things will get a little bit easier just on a general sense for M80. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be true. If DarkZero just runs this the full gauntlet now, it gets a 5-1. M80 may not really have much of an opportunity if we're being real about it.
Yeah, 5-1 is not uncommon on Bang, but still, it's one of those halves that you just do not want to be on the receiving end of. Though M80, if they're able to maybe bring some of that fragging power on the attack, it'll work out. But we got 2 more rounds of DarkZero versus M80 on attack and defense, respectively. So let's see how this one pans out. Panbazoo going back to the Ying. Sometimes that might mean we see an open area rush, but that's not what we're seeing today. Achieved on the CEO repels. They are going for the full clear, or something they've not done that much so far. I mentioned they've gone for that minimal style, just gone for the cutoffs. When we see somebody go on this repel, they might just try to send someone in. But of course, you cannot forget NJR looking through these Kanto walls. This has been such a core element of the DZ attack, and even if maybe Achieved falls, they'll always have this ace to fall back on to deny these rotations for the defense.
NJR nearly gets pre-fire there lined up. So we have a few players from M80 dipping in and out of the first floor elevators. So the player jump back up to the second floor. But once again, as you mentioned, Sheep more than ready to take the challenge from that position. Panba already swung in as well here. First Candela used to get him onto the inside of it. There's no counter pressure, which took him out, but a nicely timed swing from Kino. He'll get blinded right afterwards, but there's not enough of a follow-up from DZ. If he's gonna try to make it work with a name, it doesn't bounce the way he needs it to. Kino, with the aggro swing, loses another half his HP here, but is still able to knock out Gavani in the process, bringing the numbers down from DarkZero and finally giving M80 a workable man advantage for the first time in quite a few rounds.
DarkZero do have some things going their way. They've got that skeleton key, and they have quite a bit of time at their disposal, but that's just what you got to deal with on M80. Spoit, he's not having a great game so far, at least in terms of the entries. 1 and 3 so far on the defense. We have Kino to rely on, who's been playing inside of Janitor with that shotgun, gone unnoticed by DZ, and once he's challenged, achieved. Unfortunately, too late to save Gavini from his fate. Now DarkZero on the back foot. They have that top floor control. They can start opening up this floor. Canadian's even moved down below, but he's a little isolated right now. Iconic is downstairs inside of server. Such a dangerous position, and if he holds it and DZ go for a cafeteria plant and they don't deal with that spot, they could have all the vertical control, all the square control, deny all the utility in the world, but if they don't know about Iconic, it could all be Raps and it could be M80's second defense.
Being incredibly cautious about his position there too. He went on and you can see all walking around here, not even wanting to make that little bit of noise that comes from it. He'll end up doing it anyway, and unfortunately, just not expecting someone to be that close to Blue Door, I suppose, as MJR is able to catch that audio cue, spin back around and take him down, prevents disaster on the execute from DarkZero, but still, there are other problems, especially in countering out the utility from the defense. The Toxic Babe going out holds back their attack when they were ready to deploy themselves towards it. MJR still a little paranoid about a secondary flank coming forward, and they're right about that as well. We do have a setup from M80 here. Canadian, though, he's tired of this. He's just going to go right for the swing, takes him down outright. Now gives DarkZero back the player advantage, and Canadian once again dashing through the Toxic Babe. He'll get the plant down to the ground, or should be able to get it anyway. Achieved will be traded back out, but MJR gonna be able to find Kino here too. Canadian going for another plant. He's left as the only player standing. Does he get it in time? Can he recover? No! Unfortunately not, as it's a triple from Diaz instead. The counter defuse comes in, and M80 finds a second.
Might have seemed, at least for a little bit, like that second flank, oh, it didn't mean anything. Look how easily Canadian shut it down. But what it still did, even if only for a single solitary second or two, it still threw DZ off their rhythm. Iconic goes for it once, gets shut down. And then the flank gets shut down again once M80 go for it. And you got to hand it to DZ there. Being able to have that synergy, being able to call those in the moment or have the drones in the proper positions to deal with what can, even if there was one flank, derail the entire round. Two, that could be a complete nightmare, and they shut it down perfectly. But M80, that was a story of individual players able to bring that back. The two flanks able to throw DZ off their guard. Kino able to take a 4v4 and make it a 4v3 early on. That is how M80 are going to play this game. That is what this new roster can do. They have so much individual skill in each of these individual players, and if they can somehow work as a team, and if they can get a kill here or there just to make it that much even, well, they can eke rounds like round number 5 through.
Hesitance there coming in from M80 when they needed to show it, especially when DarkZero was winding up for the big push to get themselves into staff area. We'd seen that in some previous rounds where DarkZero had been able to successfully bait out some aggression from a few of the M80 players. They found other entries or follow-up kills through that avenue. This time does not really end up happening, save for the denial of the flanks, and as a result of that, the site take is finally where they do falter in those final seconds of the round. DZ to attack things here. I think we're going to be having ourselves a basement hole, if I'm looking at the sites correctly here. Didn't get to see it in pick phase, but yeah, looks like we've gone down here for the final round of the defense for M80.
We got some changes as well. Iconic rolling to that Goyo was the warden on the previous Lockers defense, and Gomez going to the cap can will still have that C4, but they are completely foregoing any form of hard breach denial. And again, DZ taking this very subtle map control. Panba has sneaked in to print a window, one just around the corner, but it's not him. He's got backup in Gavini, 7-2 so far, and there's that one of the two C4s for the defense, and they'll just send it in, John.
They've got so much map control already. This is the third basement attack in a row. I think they've just stolen first floor control. Unfortunately, M80's been able to do nothing to counter it. Kino will grab Panba, though, as he tries to move forward into the plant zone. As a result, gets knocked out, re-evens out the player power here. But Gavani, of course, still deep in gold bars. This is going to create a very awkward situation for M80 and the rest of their hold.
And saving Private Gavini, unfortunately, down inside of gold. Not much support from his team. Understandably, the play, the gamble did not work out, but here comes Achieved. But they have to deal with Kino. Such a difficult player with that shotgun. They tried to pinch him in round number 1. It didn't work out. DarkZero able to bring it back in round number 4. And everyone from DZ waiting at the moment. This will give Kino time to just wait. The rest of M80 to maybe even consider challenging Gavini, who they know is trapped inside of gold. If they could win this fight, that's an easy 4v3, but at the same time, if they get distracted, maybe challenge him. DZ might just push in. Down goes NJR. And well, I was gonna say down the stairs, but also down he goes from the shotgun.
Kino as well continuing to play this out perfectly. Great utility usage. Deals with the issue coming in from blue stairs, but he'll be flashed out here. Still is able to get one for his trouble, though, before going down. Ends up with a triple on the round, leaves it all onto Achieved here in the 1v3, as Gavini, of course, was taken care of in the depths of gold bars while that fight was going on from Kino's POV. Achieved as well. Still a minute to play, so in terms of siege time, he's got infinite clutch potential here to play things out. It's just, positionally speaking, from a realistic perspective, it's going to be so tough for him to swing beyond this, and especially to get that plant down on the ground. Goes for the peak, and unfortunately is taken down by Spoit. M80 claims yet another round at the tail end of the half.
We'll say, I think that was a very risky play by DZ, specifically Panba and Gavini. Maybe getting a little bit out of sync. The strength of DZ so far was that coordination, their ability to methodically play, to acquire map control. And there they try to fast track it, think they maybe see an opening. And I admire the initiative, I really do. But unfortunately, it was a false one. M80 putting up, again, some very solid defenses. We've given, or at least I have given, a lot of credit to DarkZero for how well they've played these attacks. But M80 in that round, they never really got that aggressive at Gavini. They knew he was in the site. They knew he was alone. They knew that DZ would need to come and get him, and it was that final bit of knowledge that influenced their decision-making, because Gavini's not going to do anything. He's stuck. Wait for DZ to come to push, because they're going to feel that pressure, and then they'll react accordingly. M80 start off with a very good round in round number 1, and in the 2 other ones they won, it was just some very solid, again, quiet individual plays, or in the case of that last one, a good team effort.
DarkZero's ultimate push does not move in the best way to actually support Gavini's position there either. Could have potentially seen them try to go for an elevator drop, considering he would have had good pinch potential for the player that was holding the other side of the vault at that point, but DarkZero not feeling that one, decides to go for the server push, and that creates 2 separated fights that they just could not control when Kino had so much dominant pacing on the bottom of those blue stairs. So a 3rd round is claimed from M80. They tie us back up as we move into the 1st round of the 2nd half. Now with DarkZero on defense, M80 immediately going to pop off one of their EE1Ds as they start to move out on the map.
Kino rocking the shield early as well, moving in through that sewer area. Achieved playing the pulse, waiting for M80 to enter through that CEO window, which it certainly looks like they're going to do. Gomez will repel on him, but that C4 is pre-placed. Oh no, it's not pre-placed. He has it in his pocket still. I thought maybe he had it under the other C4. That's somebody else's C4. They've got 3, so they certainly have a lot to spare. Gomez will have to be careful, and the drones will need to be effective for M80 to make sure that the Buck does not succumb to that pressure. They might not be maybe the most vert you can do, but you'll at least want to have your entry up. Oh, but it's blown too early. Now Achieved alone inside of Archives will fuel the pressure of that skeleton key very soon.
Gomez takes a very powerful upstairs position. As you said, skeleton key going to come in hugely here. Has those can openers, so can open up access to the lower floor as well here. Begin to open up an execution path, and more importantly, an overwatch path and post plant for the rest of M80 here, as they're more than likely going to keep a player or 2 in this position upstairs for the rest of the round, even going into the position where they have the plants. 1st minute has only been used up as well, so M80 is making great use of their time here so far. Can actually sit back and relax for a couple seconds if they want to sit back on drones and try to gather more info, as they have more than enough time with the way they're proceeding currently.
And again, look at the difference between these 2 teams so far. M80 in their very first attacking round opting to secure control of the entire map, not just trying to cut off the defense on rotations, not just trying to pinch out those roamers, trying to push them back completely, and of course hope to get a kill, but still acquire the full map in the process. And now they have control of that open area. Gomez has made his way in, escaped the C4 earlier. Some of those hatches already opened up. You've got to be careful of these flanks. Achieved knows, or Gomez knows, excuse me. Cuts down Panba. Opening pick going the way of M80. And look at this, John. A minute left. They still have this Monty. If they're able to acquire control of that server stairs in a timely manner, and of course, bait out those remaining 2 C4s and those toxic canisters, a tall task, but if they can do it, this is still a very winnable round for M80.
Server in blue is free. He'll walk directly to the inside of it. Kino just walks in, takes it for himself, and is now pretty much primed to try and work himself in to set DS up for the plant. Especially himself here too. We're going to start to see some of those Goyo canisters get taken care of in a big fight over by main stairs that'll come out evenly for both teams, with the earlier kills from M80 though. It's going to leave them in a better position, but continuing to see the situation devolve. It goes back into an even-keeled scenario. The teams continue to trade down into a 2v2. Diaz and Kino alive for M80. Gavini and NJR up for DZ here. DZ only 20 seconds needed to bait out here, as now M80 is being forced into the site. They have to make a decision now and soon. try to force themselves into it. Diaz tries to line up for a plant position, but he'll be the first to fall here. Now it's only going to be the Montaigne left alone here. He'll try to force the issue on the plant, but being left in this situation by himself is interrupted by the Toxic Babe. Forces himself forward, tries to take a gun duel, and it goes pretty much as you expect in a Montaigne 1v1 there. Defense shuts it down, and DZ take charge with the first round here on the defense.
M80 didn't take particularly slow time on that attack, but still definitely it seemed a little bit slower than DZ in terms of acquiring the control of that middle floor. But they had a minute 15 left and free server control. Unfortunately, there were just 3 C4s, 3 toxic canisters, and 4 Goyo canisters in their way. So they made a calculated decision, which is unfortunate with the Monty on the board. They need to go for those kills. They try to send someone down marble stairs to deal with the garage player, and M80 lose some very important fights. Gavin wins it in that very position, and DarkZero still have the utility to rely on for anybody pushing inside of server. It was a really excellent setup for DZ, and a really excellent job from individual players like Gavin, able to repel the adaptation and the rotations from M80.
M80 falling behind yet again. See what they're trying to work themselves towards here to make up the difference now is, of course, DarkZero just move 1 floor up over to the open area hold. Brava is going to come in, I believe, for the first time in this match for Iconic over on M80. DarkZero not really feeling the usage of it back on the previous half. So we're going to see it for the first time here on the POV of M80 and Iconic. With him taking it up here, we'll have to see what exactly they're able to knock out. Plenty of utility pieces that can potentially be dealt with, but we'll have to see what specifically they'll be able to find. It's mainly going to be like magnets and whatnot that'll be taken over here just to get those out of the way more than anything, though. Is not any hugely quick, not like huge game-changing utility pieces here for DZ.
I mean, if you could find a yokai, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be super cool, but the name of the game absolutely is finding those magnets, especially because, I mean, those are really the only electronics we have on the board, but still some very important ones. The lack of electronics on DZ's overall lineup should not diminish the importance of gaining a couple magnets, because look at the other lineup outside of that Brava. You have the Ying, you have the Amaru. Sure, the Amaru isn't going to get caught by a magnet, which will likely be aided by those Candelas, who could certainly be caught by some of that projectile denial. So you can take some of those magnets, or even maybe take a default cam to watch a flank, and God forbid for DZ, a yokai, if M80 can get their hands on it, will certainly be a great usage of that Clutch drone. Iconic down below right now. Same with the Amaru inside of server as well, going for the lurk up these stairs. It might not be flashy, but it might be quick.
And he's just going to work himself directly to the inside of it, but is immediately gunned down. Gomez is well knocked out here. He'll be thrown into a down state. No chance to recover him, unfortunately. The rest of the team is still sitting up for entry through electrical as well. Another wild peek from Spoit, and is immediately shut down by an additional member of DZ. It doesn't matter where they are pushing. It is just not working out. Not a single point of damage connected onto a member of DZ from all of these attempts to play in.
Kino now stuck just inside of electrical. Diaz will bring one back, able to wall bang the Echo, but Gavini has retaken control of marble stairs due to the decreased man count, to put Diaz Lucas even lower. A quick 2-piece to finish things off for DarkZero. And if you're going to try to flank them on attack and defense this game, John, they will know your every move before you make it.
So DZ continue to find that excellence here on the defensive side. Not missing a beat so far as they switch themselves over to the second half and go for another defensive lineup here over in Tellers for their 3rd site. Potentially the final point on their rotation if they choose to skip the 2nd floor and go back down into the depths of basement for round number 10. And try and set themselves up for map point on this one too. Just 2 rounds away now from victory in their 2nd match of the season.
We talked about earlier that neither M80 nor DarkZero had truly been tested by their earlier matchups today, and that's not to discredit the future potential performances of Mirage and Beast Coast, the former of which, Mirage, we will be seeing later today, achieved, or either achieved or forced, perhaps both. I believe Mirage was a little underrated, that we should not count them out. And M80 so far might just be counted out against DarkZero. Won 2 defenses in a row, DarkZero has, and looking to pick up a 3rd with Teller's Archives, running a very similar roam setup to how they did previously on open area. You have that Lamai outside of stock, have the Orcs running around with the addition of the Valkyrie, the black eye cameras. This is looking like a very dangerous roam setup, and as M80 have favored at least that roam clear initially, and after the rush didn't work out, I'm worried if they fall back on their initial plan in round number 1, they will run headlong into the vast majority of DZ's utility and manpower.
So M80 will immediately get themselves onto repelled angles and start putting pressure on the upstairs hole that is here. Of course, supporting the main hole back down in Tellers itself. This is just an extension at the moment here for DZ. So they're going to play this out quite heavily. M80 is able to take this control, especially early in the round. It's going to leave basically unlimited time for M80 to set up top downs. Not the situation where you want to give that up if you have a choice in the matter. Chico going to get forced out from the Z area. He'll get sent into the inside of Banana here. We'll try to wait this one out instead. Has a pre-fire set up for an ATM entry, but not seeing a whole lot roaming there from M80. They have big focus on the repelled angle right now with this drone moving forward. May have the confidence to go for the initial swing as Panva as well has been forced back into the depths of Janitor. He's having to pay attention not only on those repels, but also for a potential swing from top square too. So just a little bit overwhelmed between these two players on DarkZero trying to hold the top end right now.
You can tell DarkZero are starting to feel that pressure. It's not manifested into anything concrete yet, but so many drones flying in, so many bullets being shot through these walls as well. Something has to give eventually. And it appears the Candelas will be the first thing through the breach. Nothing to burn these magnets, though. 2 of them caught, but Iconic still gets the first pick. Pambazu reads that initial entry. Gavini kills him in the process. Could have been a 4v3 for DarkZero, and instead now it's a 3vx for the defense. Gavini still trapped on that top floor, has the deployable shield, and as these Candelas are burned, he's still cut down by the T95.
M80 taking a definitive stance here with that final kill. Inside of this gunfight leads it all into NJR and Canadian down below as well. Canadian kind of still out and about by the teller's desk itself. We'll see if he's able to line up for any sort of aggressive play by the main stairs, trying to turn his team's luck around inside of the 2v4 now. You have some damage done to a few of the members from M80, most notably Kino there, down at about 20 or so HP, so it's still somewhat workable, but DarkZero is going to need to get into a power position. That's unfortunate now as we see there that yellow ping calling out Canadian's position downstairs. They are more than aware of this aggressive hold he's gone for, and here comes the direct counter to it now, but they're going to give him an opportunity. However, he's not ready for it when it's thrust upon him. Diaz quickly knocks out Canadian and leaves everything into NJR's hands.
Has this angle onto square, but with 40 seconds to reset, even drone out this remaining player. Reloading. M80 have ample time, but NJR's cut down 1. He's still inside of square. They know his position. They've got 2 people watching him in sight control to boot. Diaz, oh! Unfortunately cut down. NJR with a beautiful flick. A 1v2 and Kino low. John, this might just be match point if NJR is lucky enough.
NJR trying to line himself up for it. This is his moment of opportunity now with Kino going for the plant. Doesn't have the confidence to make the play immediately, though. And even worse, does not have the winning angle, but he finds it anyway! The swipe right over on the Spoit knocks him down. And now Kino, you see his HP on the right. He's already low. Just 1 bullet from NJR will seal the deal. He's got all the counter defuse time to make this play as well, but no intel to play off of. Did he go to the inside? No, thankfully not, because the barricade's still there. Could have gone down the stairs, or he could be in the elevator. It's a few options, looks down, but he gets it anyway. The quad clutch from NJR to put DZ on map point.
Play of the day right there. I don't want to maybe jump ahead, but the mayor is back in town, boys.
Look at the chat.
You cannot mess with him. A 1v4 for NJR. And M80 had everything going for them. I know. M80 had everything going for them. They had square control. They had site control. They had 2 people stacked on top of each other to take down Troy Canadian in the 2v4. And it was still not enough. You could say it began right here. A very nice shot onto Gomez. Unfortunately, not able to take that down. But I mentioned it came down to luck, and it definitely at least came down to game sense. That spray through the wall and that flick, that was very much a clutch by his positioning. I will give him that. But that was a clutch, of course, of just mechanical skill, able to flick on that first player and to take down that second player. And sometimes you don't always have to say, oh, what a brilliant maneuver. And though while he did have great movement, that was just NJR clicking heads.
Yeah. Really, really good stuff to read into every single possible scenario. Doesn't overextend at any point inside of the 1v1 as well. Could have very easily stepped out, gone for a quick peek, and that's where obviously we could have seen the last member of M80 get their own advantage from that scenario and take him down to win it out instead. But he holds himself back, quickly scans all the possible angles that the final member of M80 could have been playing from, and brings it back down to where it's only going to be that front lobby swing or the elevator, and he's able to get the adjustment when he spots the player going for the movement.
Just beautiful play by DZ overall. A match point more than worth its while. And a game that many believed, it was that SSG Sonics game that the desk believed was match of the day, but this was another very likely contender. And it could be a 7-3 just like the first 2 games, the ones we called not even really tests for the teams that won. What could have been the match of the day if DZ could just win 1 more defense, something that they seemed on the cusp of not being able at least to accomplish 3 in a row in that last round. They somehow managed to do it, not dropped a single round on this second half. And M80, right now at least, going about business as usual. They've taken that top floor control, moving down vertically as 2 players are also outside of ATM, and Gomez almost breaks his shins dropping down on the marble stairs. And maybe are going about this attack in the way they have before, and thankfully for them, DZ and especially NJR are all downside.
Boy, we're going to see the Ana drone work its way forward here and actually get a good amount of intel, even past the bottom level here of the main stairs. So we'll be able to figure out the lockers is completely empty. We won't have to worry about anything from there, especially if they're going to push into main stairs here. And a nice spot from Iconic as well as he moves forward and is able to grab out that electric wall, which was holding control over the hatch there for the past few moments.
M80 also going with this Monty push as well. Very problematic last time, if you all recall, those Vulcan canisters, those C4s, though oddly enough, Canadian rocking with the barbed wire instead, but they still have 2 C4s in hands of Achieved and Gavini, and those smoke canisters as well, so still ample utility to deny this plant. And that's my worry with M80, them sticking so hard to this Monty push. It's normally going for server, but right now, at least starting in the second half of the round, they're looking to push down Marble, maybe even drop down the elevator hatch as well. That would certainly shift things up. Can't say I've seen a Monty drop elevator all that frequently, but he's trapped inside of a box right now, and he'll at least waste some utility.
Moves forward, though, is going to be able to swing himself up front, but the Nitro goes deep. Apparently, a little bit too deep. This is not going to deal any damage, so he's got the door blocked off, makes a move himself, but that exposes him to Gomez, as he's now made the drop as well and has joined his teammate in the depths of the basement here. Has another angle lined up, but Achieve's going to win it instead. However, the Monty takes the trade, knocks him back out, leaves it all on the Canadian for the defense here in a 1v3. He's got an advanced angle, but Iconic already expects it, knocks him right out. And with that, M80 will hold on for at least one more round.
Definitely an unorthodox push, John, but I have to say it worked out wonders in that one. The Montaigne dropping elevator hatch.
And then just scrapping with the 2 players holding vault entry.
I mean, we can all agree that it worked.
Yeah.
At least in that round.
They got the round.
They got the round, and that's how I would define something working, at least in the short term. Hopefully, if we do see lockers again from DarkZero, we see M80 go to a different attack, but that's, again, another benefit of this team. The gun skill and the ability to just make things up on the fly, to just try and adapt to whatever's in front of them by throwing something at the wall. They can do it, and they have the gun skill to sometimes force those solutions in the round. But it's still been a very strong defensive half for DZ, and M80 need to claw 2 more back from DarkZero. Going back to open area as well. The second round that DZ won on this defense, it was a clear through that top floor, and again, a clear that DZ seemed a prime position to stop.
As you might expect here, heavy on the roam presence from DarkZero on this round as well, with it being open area. So we're going to see a lot of that, the Wamai being brought out, as well the Frostmat's going to be deployed all over the place. Even the Echo drones here too, going to be a bit annoying to deal with, especially in the late rounds. This is very often a site that gets pushed in that sub 20-second marker, so that's where those Echo drones could come out for the clutch. They could, in this case, pretty much win the match outright if M80 misses it. But M80's got their own tricks up their sleeve, of course, mainly those Candelas, which are going to be used on the execute here, hopefully blind out all the presence, ready to stop this push on the inside of Staff and open itself.
A lot of those Candelas that Kino tried to throw into stock last time, caught by magnets. Have to be a little more careful with that burn, but Gomez sitting outside Perno window right now, trying to apply some release pressure, turn that valve, try and see if he can catch anybody inside of the site, but not for the moment. Instead, he'll likely go to the normal position that really the buck on both of these teams, but Gomez, for M80 in particular, have taken, just going on to that CEO repel. Meanwhile, the rest of M80 attack stock and attack square. Nobody from DZ has really shifted their positions all that much. Gavini on Marble, Panba sitting behind that shield outside of stock. So if Kino can land those Candelas maybe a little bit quicker, it was already a decent roam clear last time, but it would be that much more decisive if that utility can actually land.
Having a little bit of trouble detecting this motion detector here. Now that he's rung the bell like 5 or 6 times, finally gets Panda swinging his direction, but still executes. The first executes. The second, he's got J access now as well, and he's going to try to take out more. Thankfully, that's it as far as DZ is concerned. No more upstairs presence to be found in this round. M80 takes full control, and now just needs to get prepared for the drop down onto the first floor to take open itself. Oh, I didn't even think he was scoped in for that one, but he still gets the kill as Canadian seemingly more than ready for the challenge from Spoit. Apparently not, as Spoit claims a 3rd kill on that.
Was looking for that inevitable aggression from DarkZero once they entered that 3v5. And for Canadian, it wasn't the most ideal position, but you got to make do with M80 had so much control and so much time. And once Spoit shuts that down after dealing with the structure in the early round, looking excellent for M80. Now a 5v1 achieved down inside of elevator, still very much alive, but with dire odds in his face. Kino going for the plant, a beautiful shot onto Gomez. A long angle bullet just barely grazes his head, but bomb planted on the floor. M80 just need to win one more round to bring this to OT.
So we'll see now if it ends up going over towards overtime, or if once again DZ is able to maintain their control. Take this one inside of regulation. Remember, folks, we are in the round robin phase, so points are needing to be gained here in order to give yourself a better position when we move to the playoff phase later on in the season here. If you win the game in clean fashion, 7-5, it's going to be worth a heck of a lot more than taking it to OT. Even if you still end up winning, that's 1 or 30% less points you're going to get for the match.
DarkZero taking their tactical timeout, which of course you might say, oh, it's on match point. What do you have? Why would you do that? It was a 6-3 earlier. They believed they could close it out now. This is the most optimal time, even if they only have 1 round left to try and fix this mistake, to win it in regulation and get all of those points, as you were mentioning, to deny M80 from getting a single one in this matchup. Of course, it will come at a very apt time, that being seemingly the best looking attack from M80 so far. Not really scrapped together at the last second, but truly decisive in the early round, much thanks to Spoit getting those first 2 picks, who has had a bit of trouble on the entry so far, at least not having the most dominant time so far, getting 1 and 3 at the half, but since then is able to get 3 kills in that round itself. That's just only one of those is counted for the entry, but he was just trying to make it up for it in totality, I guess. And if that's the kind of energy that M80 are going, DZ taking their time out, going back to that structure will be good, but M80, they're starting to get that momentum back.
Attackers need to
now we see if it goes the full distance here. 1 more round on the board from DZ, and they do make a return back into the basement here. M80 once again was able to bring a surprise strat out with the elevator drop on Monty in order to find victory on the previous attempt here. We'll see if they can make it work yet again. DZ once more going to try and hold back the tie to claim it in 7-5 fashion. Very big on the delay, of course, as you might expect. We've got grow canisters, we've got a smoke for NJR, we've got the laser gates coming out from Gavini as well, to even want the advanced intel on where the play is actually going to be coming from as Achieved. Going to once again bring the pulse out. He can play that obviously very safely in the depths of Gold Bar Vault, and then Canadian a little bit more aggressively leaned, of course, here on the Vigil.
Of course, the nice thing about Achieved bringing this pulse and M80 going with that full clear so often, if he's able to look up and he sees a plethora of heartbeats all outside that rappel or on the top floor, he can call that they're going for at least something close to their normal push that they've done so far. We don't need to worry. But if he doesn't see any of those heartbeats, then he can call that, well, something crazy is about to happen. And M80 are switching things up. Of course, it's likely looking to be the former. See a couple bodies already over on that rappel, so M80 will try to go for that normal full clear. I've not seen a lot of impact from this pole C4 in the early round, and if it happens here, they're able to take away that opening pick from M80 that got them such a decisive round just a few minutes ago. That might be what DarkZero need to close this out in regulation.
By the way, it's a very, very slow wind-up here from M80 as they try to set themselves up for that first bit of clear. Playing heavily into their drones to try and figure out where they need to insert themselves first. DZ being very mobile as well, so it's not an easy task to find the safe point, try and work themselves into. As you can see, the Vigil effect going in towards those drones. If they drone themselves anywhere near main stairs, that's currently where Canadian is roaming around, they're going to get that effect, and they're going to have to try and hunt him down before they swing themselves and commit themselves to the inside of this upstairs hole. Finally going to find that safety, though, and we'll see Kino work on the upstairs hatch as they can begin transitioning down.
And good communication by M80 right there. Never rappelled in until they either knew that Achieved was not there or if they acquired the other control, and it was the latter in that case. They'd already been able to move into stock, move into janitor, and at that point, Gomez doesn't need to rappel in. No need to take the control that way, and Achieved C4 is now useless, so good for M80. Half the round now gone, though. We have a lurker in the midst. Canadian on that Vigil, sitting by that hatch. He has an escape vector incredibly close by. He's basically hanging 1 foot in already, but hoping and praying that M80 have not droned him into the Buck CA just outside. Oh, he almost whiffs, but still takes him down. Might be able to crawl to safety as well, but there's the opening DarkZero we're looking for.
Canadian finds it, but Iconic trades it back and knocks out Panba. And once more, Canadian is by no means safe at this point. Iconic already setting himself up to be able to try and knock out not only Canadian, but the player that was potentially going to res him. But he doesn't have the confidence to go for the full commit. Backs up from it. Canadian's able to get himself around the corner, so he will get revived.
That makes it a 4v4 even, but again, Kino on this Monty, if you're not able to get an execute, well, specifically a plant-focused execute down, that's a gun you do not have up, and this utility is staring them straight in the face. No C4, but still 3 toxic canisters. Iconic will hit the back, but as soon as he's shut down, the bomb somehow still goes down.
Nice catch from Diaz here as well, taking out the immediate rotate from Canadian there as he tries to get himself over to the top of those main stairs. Diaz watching out for the secondary one that's also going to be committed to, and once again, immediately shuts it down as soon as he spots it. NJR is all that remains for the retake here in the 1v3. Has the toxic bait to try and force the Monty out of positioning, but he has to worry about the hatch play as well. Both are open, I do believe, so no matter where he goes around Red Hole on the interior position of the site, he's more likely going to have to deal with someone. Opening of the shield gets redeployed once again, and this is just a super unwinnable situation for NJR when everything is said and done. The Monty makes it so difficult to play on the inside of there, and the post-plant positions from the rest of M80 make it pretty much impossible. So they lock in that 6-6 tie and send us to overtime.
The two top candidates.
Candidates.
It's a hard word. 2 Ds. Very difficult.
Tongue twister.
Exactly. The top 2 candidates for match of the day, both going to overtime, John, on the first day of the NAL regular season. I think that is a fitting way to begin, well, the 5th match of the day. M80 now starting on the defense. Remember those DarkZero attacks? I know it was a long time ago. You know, there were 6 whole rounds between the attacks and now. But they're pretty good. I was a fan.
But M80, we have to remember the last quarter, I guess you could say, of that half.
I hate it when people say quarters.
Well, because the other alternative is the half of that half, and that just like sounds really weird to me.
I didn't do well at fractions. So.
The final 3 rounds of that half is probably the cleaner way to say
it. It was a 3-3 half either way as well.
Exactly.
So everyone.
That was the main point I was leading into, is M80 did find the rebound, and that's where they ended that half. So DarkZero may not be feeling as secure starting things out on the attacking side here, considering they tied it and everything's said and done.
Yeah, timeout also not bearing fruit, unfortunately, as M80, because we saw Spoit, okay, getting a triple kill, just demoralizing DarkZero in that early round. That's all great. This time, M80's plan actually worked. M80 actually were able to make the plan that they wanted to do, every single Locker's attack now, work basically perfectly, despite being and flying in the face of all of that utility.
I really enjoy how they abused the situation with Canadian as well, just kept the constant distraction going on over by the bottom of elevators there, so that their actual push from the inside of server was like pretty much uncontested for the most part. So really good stuff there from M80 to kind of split the fight into 2 different areas and leave themselves with a very easy plan when everything was said and done.
In 2 areas right now, of course, we need to focus on for DarkZero. It's the same thing that we've focused on many of the previous Locker's attacks for DarkZero. Are they going to go after Spoit inside of CEO or Kino down inside of server? And taking this control, DarkZero have very quickly every single time. Gavini working his way into archives, at least that's the intention. He's inside electrical right now. Sprint across square, but no action just yet, no control solidified, but Gavini will rotate up this time, try to find an angle on the player inside of CEO as all of DarkZero are consolidating on the 2nd floor.
And was it with the right timing, but thankfully for M80, the player that was trying to go for that swing from the top of main stairs backs up the final second. Panba gets it on the 2nd test of it, but as you'll see, Gavini as well claims a 2nd kill too. So M80 going to take a decent, unfortunately, disadvantage from this situation now as Gavini claims another one to bring it down to a 4v2 overall. Just the basement players left in this fight now.
Love DarkZero giving a new look to M80 in overtime. Every single time they have either put only a little focus on the top floor, maybe NJR holding an angle, or no focus on that top floor. In the overtime, all of their resources that they could spare in the beginning, from drones to players themselves, were spent to clear them out, and now it has worked incredibly effectively. Both DS, Lucas, and Kino, though, getting aggressive on this top floor. This is also what I love about M80. They are not scared to get aggressive, even in the face of seemingly unbeatable odds. We have one inside of elevator right now. Kino just trying to shoot some more drones, waste some more time. He'll likely try to fall back, maybe play that utility along with the Yokais, because sure, you need to get aggressive in a 2v4, but with so many people looking your way, you might just have to drop.
Ready for the swing. Unfortunately, Kino's just a little bit more ready for it at the same time. He'll get immediately traded out, however, by Achieved. There's so much support here from DZ. Thankfully, they have more than enough players to make up the difference there from that aggressive swing. Diaz wanting to potentially line himself up for it as well as he tries to peek himself from the bottom of main stairs, but just not able to justify it, especially with the barbed wire, giving away the fact that he's here. Dead ringer, of course, everybody on DZ. Tries to get himself to the top of the stairs, but Panba as well sneaks out from the beeper's side and is able to take him down in an uncontested fashion.
Again, DZ changed things up completely. They go for that top floor clear, and not only was it executed very well, M80 were caught a little bit lacking. DZ were quiet for that first minute. We're not making a lot of noise, you know, opening some windows up, opening up some doors, droning things out, what you'd expect from a team like DarkZero with a structured, quiet reputation they have. But then it all falls into place. Gavini opens up that wall, looking inside to executive office as the rest flood in from square in stock, and DZ just had the sheer number of players on that top floor going their way, able to make it a 4v3 because they put all of their resources to go for it. You had 2 players downstairs for M80 and 1 on that middle floor. If they're just able to win the gunfights that they take, which DarkZero did, they can come away with an advantage on that top floor. And once they got that 3rd kill as well, it was going to be a rough shape for M80 as there was still a minute 40 left on the clock.
M80 showing us some similar things here to what we have seen before on their attacks, most notably, of course, the reliance on the Monty coming out once again, but it's not going to be against the basement hold, obviously, as DarkZero has not had the best of luck winning that one out when they tried to go for it the past few attempts. Instead, it's going to be an open area hold here, in what could very well be the final round if they're able to latch in and take control of this one.
Maybe I'd like to see the Echo from DarkZero to deal with that Monty. It didn't give them a lot of trouble in those early rounds, even the one that M80 were able to claw by dropping down Elevator. But considering how difficult it was and that M80 were able to bypass that utility, especially by sending someone down marble stairs and distracting a lot of the defenders, maybe bring that Echo feel a little bit more secure, but being an open area, loving to bring this Monty on every single site. They might still be able to make it work with those C4s and that Warden. They end up throwing any of those 9 flashbangs into the site. DarkZero also roaming on that top floor as well. At least early on, M80 just looking around that first floor at the moment, not going for that full clear. C1 going up server stairs as well. This is a very straight and to the point direct take from Square for M80, but they still have a lot of roamers who could move to that top railing and shoot at them in the back.
It looked like with the hard reach they made over by the electrical wall as well, they just wanted to maybe possibly force the issue in the first 30 seconds of play, but it's all something potentially spotted the way the setup has been instrumented downstairs. It made them think twice about that, so they've just gone for the normal lower square take here now. They're going to work on getting some openings on the actual triple wall that leads into staff that hopefully give them a better chance to knock out a few players before they fully commit themselves to the depths of the site.
They haven't cleared out Canadian inside of Archive, but they still got the opening pick. NJR cut down, playing on that triple wall. One of the 2 top players for DarkZero, and also with that utility, could peer through those flashbangs and also be the first point of contact. And maybe M80 stalled out a little bit and pushed into Square. But with Canadians still inside of Archives, that hard reaching can be shot by the Valkyrie. Gavini put to low HP as well. Kino's just making his way on in. Nobody's looking. There's so much on the top floor. He can go for this plan, and M80 can cover.
A little bit cautious to do so, however, but his teammates still have good Overwatch for him. Just a giant distraction right now to bait players into the open. And in the meanwhile here, M80 are just lining up frags left and right. Only one in the most recent few seconds that have gone off here, but Kino now finally with the confidence to commit himself to the plant. Pamba tries to run out towards the breach, is immediately shut down by Iconic. They get all into Canadian now as Gavini was also put into a down state. Absolutely no way Canadian's able to get him back up, so he is alone here in the 1v5, and it is a flawless one from M80 to take control and send us to the final round of this match.
That might be one of my favorite overtimes I've seen in a little bit, because each team took a page out of the opposing team's book. DarkZero in their attacking round go for the full clear, and M80, instead of going for their normal CEO push, really take advantage of that Montaigne. Know that if we can get open Square wall with so many roamers on the top floor, if we just hold those cutoffs and don't directly push them, we can open up that wall and then push in. And if we get an opening pick as well, force and execute, maybe even in the first half of the round, but around that minute 30 mark, which is something that was very close to what DarkZero was doing on their attacking halves. Both teams taking the strengths from each other, and now as we go to OT, M80 on their last defense and DarkZero on their last attack, we have CEO, a site that compared to open area and lockers, we've not seen too much of so far.
DarkZero not playing it at all, if memory serves me correctly, back in regulation, and M80, of course, bringing it out just once back inside of their regulation play on defense. So we'll have to see now if it yields results for them. They go back to one final time at the very tail end of this matchup. It is going to force pretty much a full operator reselect from the DarkZero side of things as well, as they were obviously not expecting to head here, it seems.
And of course, we've seen Kino on the Monty pretty much every single M80 attacking round. Here is where we actually expect to see the Monty when we see a team attack Bang. The Monty usually moves up those main stairs to get eyes on the player inside of Elevator and inside of Executive Office. You see that Warden playing right now. And with no Capitao on the board, but still with that Ying, they're likely not going to go for the rush, but still try to go for some kind of quick execute, not early on, but have the situation rapidly escalate whenever that Monty crests main stairs, and DarkZero have the control that they need. See everyone from the attack spawned on that side. That definitely appears to be the play that DarkZero have in mind for their very final attack.
He's attempting to line themselves up for it now. Drone presence is up first here, however, as they do need to make sure they don't get immediately gunned down on entry, as we have unfortunately seen happen quite often on the inside of this game. More so defenders, I think, having that happen to them as they try to make aggressive plays, but still, it's been a common occurrence so far over the past 14 rounds we have played out here. More players joining up on that ATM push. sending their own personal drones out a different direction here too. It seems like they've done most of the checks that they'll need to perform, so expect some actions to follow this through over the next few moments. And indeed, that first Candela now coming out for the Repel team upstairs, but our lobby team still waiting to see exactly what they'll deploy themselves towards. A very late mirror window deployment going to come out here from Diaz as well to counter out a little bit of that pressure coming from the front side.
I just wait to see where they push from. You know, keep one for a rainy day, or front lobby Monty take in this case. First Ying going out was meant to try and draw some of the defenders out of their positions, and the second one likely intended for a similar purpose. Of course, Spoit on this Warden will be public enemy #1 for DarkZero, because he can deal with either of these Repel players. But finally, after 1 minute and 45 seconds, Canadian has made his way close to that top floor. But I'm worried for DZ. Sure, it's 1 minute 10 seconds, but
this is really telegraphed now.
Yeah, it's really telegraphed. Haven't cleared out that elevator player, and now only 1 minute left. Nobody giving away anything on M80. DZ are really gonna have to fight for this one.
Spoit more than ready for that challenge on Repel as well. Nearly gets the counter himself, but doesn't actually hear the Repel noise itself. Player ends up making it into the depths. Spoit grabs one, but now it's Canadian successfully navigating himself to the top of those main stairs, the front side, to find the trade against it. Back into a 4v4. Now DZ are taking control. 2 more kills go into their hands, both coming from NJR. Another one found by Gavani. It's all on Aquino now, inside of the 1vx situation. He grabs one, but there's still 3 more to go, and he's very quickly running out of space to play this out. The SMG-11 just can't be controlled to get the headshot off against the Monty, and with that, it's going to be DZ taking the matchup.
And honestly, a win that by the end, both teams deserved. DarkZero starting out in that attacking half, they honestly, to me, looked like the clear favorites. I believe they were gonna carry that synergy onto the defense, and well, they very much did, but M80 got that second win after that DS Lucas 1v1, and certainly on those attacks. And it was a tale of, well, at least for the regulation, 2 very different teams. DarkZero structured, going for that map control, not going for really anything too crazy, and M80, they're just trying to figure it out.